You are 44 and you have $100 million. You are sitting in the back of a car that is taking you to a building where decisions will be made today that most people will read about tomorrow in language that makes the decisions sound inevitable. They were not inevitable. You were in the room. You know which 3 conversations made them happen and which one almost didn't. 12 years ago, you had negative $100,000. Student loans, a shared apartment in a part of the city where the subway stop smelled like something that didn't have a name, and a job offer from a firm whose name you had written on a piece of paper and carried in your wallet for 3 years before they called. The piece of paper is still in your desk at home, not in your wallet, in the drawer, under the things you keep because getting rid of them would be the kind of decision you're not ready to make about who you used to be. By the end of this video, you'll definitely see that Wall Street is not an industry. It's a hierarchy with a specific psychological cost at every level. And the people who make it to the top are not the smartest people who started. They're the ones who understood what the hierarchy was actually selecting for and decided to become that thing. You'll find out why most people plateau where they do, and it won't be the reason they think. This is your life on Wall Street, from minus $100,000 to $100 million. Level 1. Minus $100,000. You are 22 and you have $100,000 in student loan debt and a job offer. The offer is from a mid-tier investment bank, not the name at the top of the list, the name 4 positions down, the one that called in April when you had stopped expecting a call. Base salary, $85,000. The number felt enormous when you read it, and then you moved to New York and learned what $85,000 means in New York, which is that it means something different in New York than it means everywhere else. The apartment is $1,950 a month for a room in a 3-bedroom in a neighborhood your parents have not heard of. You split it with 2 other analysts from the same incoming class. One of them went to Princeton. One went to a school you've never heard of, but she finished first in her class, and you figure out within 2 weeks that she is the most technically capable person in your cohort, and within 6 weeks that the firm has not yet figured this out. The job starts at 7 a.m. and ends when it ends, which is a phrase that means nothing until you experience it, and then means exactly what it says. Not a time, a condition. The condition is when the work is done. The work is not always done before midnight. On the weeks when it isn't, you take the subway home in the specific silence of a city that is still going, but has shifted into a register that belongs to different people than the ones who ride at 8 a.m. You carry a yellow legal pad to every meeting, not because anyone told you to, because you watched the second-year analyst who sits 2 desks from you carry one, and she never seems to not know something when it matters, and you decide the legal pad is part of the system rather than an affectation. You buy the legal pad at a pharmacy near the office, $1.19, same brand every time. Your student loans are $1,100 a month. After rent, loans, food, and the subway card, you have $340 left at the end of each month. You are earning $85,000 a year, and you are net negative every month because New York and the loan are doing the math before you can. You tap the pen against the legal pad, twice, slow, then stop, when the first performance review comes back with 2 areas for development circled in red. You read both. You tape the page to the inside of your desk drawer. You read it every Monday morning for 6 months. The first rule, at minus $100,000, Wall Street has all of your ambition and all of your debt, and you have a subway card and a yellow legal pad. That is the correct starting position. Everyone who made it started there. Level 2. Break even. You are 25 and the loans are paid off and the number is 0. Not 0 in the sense of nothing. 0 in the sense of the first time since you were 18 that the number next to your name is not negative. You sit at your desk on the Tuesday it happens and look at the bank notification for a moment, and then close your phone and finish the model you were building. You are now a second-year analyst approaching the associate decision. The decision is whether the firm offers you an associate role, or whether you go to business school, or whether you leave for a hedge fund or private equity, or one of the other exits that analysts spend a significant percentage of their mental bandwidth evaluating, while simultaneously performing the work of their current role. The managing director on your team is named Richard. Richard is 51, speaks in complete sentences that end exactly where they should, and has the specific quality of someone who has been in enough rooms to know which rooms matter and which ones only look like they matter. Richard tells you something in a feedback session that you write in the legal pad and underline twice. He says, "The analysts who leave because they think the grass is greener are usually right about the grass and wrong about themselves." You stay. Your bonus in year 2 is $40,000. After taxes, it is $26,800. You put $18,000 into an investment account and live on the rest for 4 months. The investment account is the first money you have ever had that is not allocated to a bill or a loan or a necessity. You look at it on the app and feel something you don't have a word for yet. The second rule, break even, is not an achievement Wall Street celebrates. It is the minimum condition for being taken seriously. Celebrate it privately and move. Level 3. $200,000 salary. You are 28 and you are an associate. The title change comes with a salary of $150,000 base and a bonus that last year for people at your level averaged $80,000 before taxes. You do not know what your bonus will be. Nobody tells you until they tell you, which is a feature of the system rather than an oversight. You manage 2 analysts now. Managing analysts is not the same as being an analyst, in the same way that teaching swimming is not the same as swimming. The skill transfers partially and breaks down specifically, and the breakdown happens in the moments when you need to explain something you learned by doing to someone who has not done it yet. One of your analysts is exceptional. You recognize this in week 2. You tell her directly in week 3, not in a performance review, in a Tuesday afternoon conversation at her desk when the floor is quiet. She looks at you the way you looked at the second-year analyst who carried the legal pad when you were 22. You file this away. You also file away something about the protection available to you at this level that you didn't have at level 1. At $200,000, you can afford an attorney, a financial advisor, and the beginnings of a structure that puts your assets in the right containers. I broke this down completely in the context of legal protection, how the law responds differently depending on your resources, how physical and legal security changes at each wealth threshold, and why most people at this income level are still structurally exposed in ways they haven't mapped. That's in the video appearing right now. But for now, let's look at what happens when the first real bonus arrives and the number has a comma in a place it's never had one before. The third rule, at $200,000, you can see the next level clearly enough to know what it requires. What it requires is not more of what got you here. Level 4. $500,000. You are 31 and your total compensation last year was $490,000. You did not tell anyone outside the office. Not your parents. Your father would be proud in a way that would require you to explain things you don't have the energy to explain at Sunday dinners. Not your friends from college. 2 of them are teachers, 1 is a nurse, and the number would create a distance neither of you chose, but that the number would install anyway. You live in a better apartment. Not dramatically better, meaningfully better. A 1-bedroom in a building with a doorman and a gym that you use 4 mornings a week before the market opens. The doorman knows your name. You know his. His name is Victor, and he has been at the building for 11 years, and he notices things. Packages, visitors, the specific quality of someone's exit at 6 a.m., in a way that you've come to understand is a form of security you pay for indirectly through rent and didn't know to value until you had it. At the office, you are now a vice president. The title on Wall Street means something different than it means elsewhere. A vice president is not a senior executive. It is a specific rung on a ladder that has managing director and partner above it and associate below it. The title is real. The distance to the next rung is also real. A headhunter calls. Private equity, a mid-size fund. Base $300,000 plus carry. Carry is the word that separates this conversation from every previous compensation conversation you've had. Carry means a percentage of the fund's profits. Carry, on a good fund over a 10-year horizon, can mean several multiples of your annual salary arriving in a single year. You meet with them 3 times. You decline. Not because the opportunity is wrong, because the timing is wrong. And you know the difference because Richard taught you the difference 4 years ago and you wrote it in the legal pad. You tap the pen against the legal pad twice. Slow, then stop. And then you call Richard and ask his opinion. He gives it in 2 sentences. You stay. The fourth rule. At $500,000, the most expensive decisions are the ones that look like upgrades and are actually exits from the path you're actually on. Level 5. $1 million. You are 34 and you crossed $1 million in net worth in March and said nothing to anyone for 3 weeks. The number arrived not in a single payment, but as the sum of 5 years of bonuses, partially invested, a stock compensation plan that vested on schedule, and the apartment you bought at 31 that has appreciated $180,000. The number is real and distributed across 4 accounts and 1 property, and requires a spreadsheet to see in aggregate, which is itself a form of new information. That wealth at this level is not a balance, it is a structure. You hire a private wealth manager, not the brokerage with the app, a person with a name who manages 11 other relationships and knows yours well enough to call you before you call him when something in the market is relevant to your specific position. The calls come at 8 a.m. and are 4 minutes long and contain 1 actionable sentence and 3 sentences of context. You are now a managing director. The promotion took 8 months longer than you expected and arrived on a Wednesday morning in an email from the head of your division that said 3 sentences. The third sentence said your compensation structure would be discussed in a separate meeting the following week. You wrote the date of the meeting on the legal pad and waited. The separate meeting was 12 minutes long. The number was real. You think about Richard. Richard retired last year. He sent you a note, handwritten, 2 sentences. The second sentence said, "The room always looks different from inside it than from outside it." You framed it. It is on the wall of your office on the 34th floor. The fifth rule. At $1 million, the structure of your wealth matters as much as its size. $1 million in the wrong containers is more fragile than $600,000 in the right ones. Level 6. $5 million. You are 37 and you have been approached about a partnership, not at your current firm, a boutique, 6 partners, $2.1 billion under management, a specific strategy in distressed credit that has returned 18.4% annually, net of fees, for 7 years. The conversation started at a dinner 11 months ago and has been continuing in the specific way that serious conversations continue on Wall Street, which is slowly and with no urgency applied, and with each party taking the measure of the other across multiple settings before anything resembling a term is discussed. You bring $5 million in personal capital as a co-investment commitment. You bring relationships, 12 years of them, in the specific currency of people who take your calls and whose calls you take, and who know from experience that your word is your word in the way that matters on Wall Street, which is that it has never not been. You join in October. Partner. The word feels different than every previous title, not because of what it means externally, because of what it costs internally. You are now responsible in a way that is structural rather than performative. If the fund underperforms, you underperform. Your capital is in it. Your name is on it. Your reputation, which you have been building since you carried a yellow legal pad to your first meeting at 22, is attached to every decision the 6 of you make together. You call your parents on a Sunday. Your father asks how the job is going. You say good. He asks if you're eating enough. You say yes. He asks when you're coming home. You say soon. You don't tell him about the partnership. Not because you're hiding it, because some distances are too wide to bridge in a Sunday phone call, and you have learned to make peace with that. The 6th rule. At $5 million, your capital and your reputation are the same asset. They move together. They also fall together. Level 7. $25 million. You are 41 and your name appears in a Bloomberg article. Not prominently. A quote, 4 sentences, in a piece about distressed credit markets. Your communications director approved the quote. Your communications director is a person whose job is to manage the relationship between what you know and what you say publicly, which is the distinction that becomes meaningful at this level in ways it was not at level 1. You have a security protocol now, not a team, a protocol. Your home address is not publicly searchable. Your travel schedule is managed by an assistant who knows not to share it. 2 of your properties are held in LLC structures that do not connect to your name in a public search. You had a security firm run a full open-source profile on you last year, everything findable from public records alone. The report was 12 pages. You spent 3 weeks restructuring what could be restructured. The legal team is 4 attorneys across 3 firms: personal, business, tax, and estate. They communicate with each other. You communicate with one point of contact who coordinates the others. The coordination itself is a service you pay for and could not have imagined needing at level 1. A competitor attempts to poach 3 of your analysts simultaneously. The attempt is coordinated, same week, separate conversations, each one structured to feel organic. You identify the pattern on day 4. You respond not by counter-offering, but by having individual conversations with each of the 3 that make it clear you see the full picture. All 3 stay. The competitor's approach cost them a relationship with your fund that had been worth something. The 7th rule. At $25 million, information is the primary asset and privacy is the primary security. Both require active management. Level 8. $100 million. You are 44 and you are sitting in the back of a car. The car is not yours. It belongs to the security arrangement, armored in the way that is invisible from the outside, with a driver who takes a different route than yesterday and will take a different route tomorrow. This is not paranoia, this is protocol. And protocol at this level exists because the people who established it learned from the people who didn't have it when they needed it. The building you are going to has made decisions today that people will read about tomorrow. You will be in the room. You will say 3 things and listen for 45 minutes and say one more thing at the end that will be the thing people remember from the meeting. Not because you planned to say it, but because 45 minutes of listening produced it and you have learned, across 22 years, that the thing worth saying almost always comes from the listening rather than the preparation. Your legal pad is in your bag. Current volume, same brand, same pharmacy, though the pharmacy near the office closed in 2021 and you now send an assistant to the one 4 blocks north. Same $1.19. Same yellow. You have filled 41 volumes since you were 22. They are in a cabinet in your home office. You have never reread them. You don't need to. The act of writing it down was the point. After the meeting, you take the elevator down alone. The lobby is quiet. The security detail is outside. You push through the revolving door. You stop at a coffee cart. $3.50 now, up from $2.25 when you started. You pay in cash. The woman behind the cart doesn't know who you are. She gives you the same coffee she gives everyone. You stand on the sidewalk for a moment. Somewhere, right now, someone has $100,000 in student loan debt and a job offer from a firm whose name they've been carrying in their wallet for 3 years. They are about to move to a city that will cost more than they think. They are about to work hours that don't have a name. They are about to learn things about systems and hierarchies and the specific cost of ambition that cannot be taught in the schools they just left. They think the hard part is getting in. It isn't. The hard part is understanding what the system is actually selecting for at each level. Not intelligence, not work ethic, not the model built at midnight, and becoming that thing without losing the piece of paper you carried in your wallet for 3 years that reminds you why you wanted to be here in the first place. The paper is still in your desk drawer at home, under things you're not ready to decide about. Keep it there.